I'm really concerned about somebody getting rear-ended or something like that coming out the curve. Marion said he hasn't had him hit the fence yet, but enough kids, you know, when we go back to winter conditions, pile up in that. Right, is that right?
Yeah, that's a really common spot coming out of that hill, when you come out of the curve by Horseman's, that people will slide off right there either across from Horseman's, or they'll end up sliding past it into the other ditch.
Okay. So right now, there's other discussion on this little prairie thing. I told you this was gonna be a short meeting. Right now, we're working on the speed thing. Does it make sense, what I said? Now, you're saying, now, where are you saying to switch to 35 then? Going out of town,
Just when you go past Bluff, it'll change from 25 to 35, and then it's 35 all the way then to the village limits. So the village limits are the back end of Maring's property where it changes to state forest. So right before Horseman's Park, and then it goes into the town, which had been, prior to the changes, it had gone 25, 35, 45. Does that make sense?
Okay,
like a
so
10-mile-an-hour step
where am
up.
I missing the village's 35 sign going on? Our 35 sign's right at the town limits.
Right, there's one prior to that between Bluff Street and the park that changes
It's right at the marina.
Yeah,
Is it 25
Yeah.
both directions? It's 35 going out and 25 coming
Okay.
yeah, there's a area where it's 35 miles an hour. Basically the length of the Maring property along Little Prairie.
So,
I guess in the grand scheme of things.
So that could be something to consider as part of a bigger plan though, if you're trying to step the speed down or keep the speed down. It doesn't make sense for the speed to go up and then drop again.
no, absolutely not. What do you think, Jim?
People may hate us for it, but I say we table this for more information. Number one, make sure Lynch doesn't have something on their file about Little Prairie Road. Number two, potentially approach the village board and say, hey, are you willing to push it to 25 all the way to the edge? Which would help define some of that. To the point of the recreational trail crossing, I don't know if anybody's been out on 18 where the Ice Age crosses just west of Wales. I mean, right out by where the wolf plant is, they have, I think, changed that for the better. To have their LED, I mean, it's kind of to the extreme, it's a state highway, right? They've got LED solar powered lights with recreational trail crossing. And in my mind, I've been driving that for 30 some odd years. To have that whole corridor, one way or the other, indicated as recreational trail crossings, because I think everybody knows generally about Horseman's, but to the point of having a mountain biker come flying out of the woods, I was one of those people at one point in time where, you know, people don't see you until they're on you, and if you're not off the edge of the road, you're in the road. So it may be something we look at for making that more, not necessarily making the 15-mile-an-hour wider than what it is, longer than what it is, but potentially indicating more crossing of rec trails.
Okay, up to that point, which they changed last year, you know, where the 15 is now, and it's supposed to be up around the corner. Actually, the 15 was supposed to be posted 1,000 feet past the entrance southbound, which never even got posted that way. So, I'm making this suggestion. The speed limit is 45 on that road. Right now, the ordinance reads 15 in front of horse riders and that distance there. Okay, that's a mess, they're not even posted right. Tyson admitted that he did not post those signs properly. But I say, let's get the signs changed past that by horse dorners, out of town back to 45, change those signs back to what it was. The county has our signs, they're sitting up there, we have an inventory of signs. You heard me talk about multiple changes on Watunsky Road. We only had to buy one sign for that. We have a pile of signs up there right now. Not a lot, but we have some. All those 45 signs are sitting on a shelf up there, so we can replace them. So I'm thinking we put those back up there, past the trail crossings, all the way to Z, and vice versa back in. And we'll table this part of the discussion until what? What do you wanna do?
Next meeting, Gene.
Well, but we're gonna do what, as far as the speed goes?
Well, I think we're gonna have the information one way or the other,
Do some
whether or not
research.
Lynch has anything, and if they don't, I mean, we're looking at no less than $7,500 is what he told me.
Really?
So, I mean,
People that, I'm just gonna say that's a lot of money.
it's something we gotta account for one way or the other. Yeah, I'm not saying
Are you
we
gonna add some?
shouldn't look at it, but
I was just curious, because these ordinance that you're saying, how, the township of Eagle, pretty much all their town roads are 35. The county road ZZ there, that's 40 miles per hour, and there's only one house on that road. Or Z, sorry.
Yeah, they have changed that, you're talking Z from
Little Prairie.
Orchards to
Yes,
59.
yes.
I did drive down that, I noticed on the right side at least it's 45.
It's
Or 40.
40, yeah.
Yeah,
So, I mean, my question is, how did they make that happen?
so.
well, that's a county road,
Yeah,
first of all.
WISDOT has control, has jurisdiction over county and state highways for setting the speed limit. So if we want to go, let's say, just pick Highway 59, right? We think that we need to have the speed limit lowered as you're coming westbound, or eastbound from the west. We would contact WISDOT, and WISDOT would do the review of what that speed limit is. There's,
We can't do that here?
not for local
Not
roads.
for local.
Correct. State and county highways,
How
they would,
would-
state and county highways, they would, but local roads would be up to the municipality to fund that report.
Can I say something? I'm on Little Prairie Road, W467. My name is Steve. I agree that the 50 mile an hour is a pain. But, I mean, and it could cause a rear end, but I think one point that needs to be considered is large horse trailers pulling out. They pull out slowly. They don't want to jostle the horses. I'm not a horse rider. So, you know, it could be an accident between a horse trailer and a vehicle.
I agree with you.
You know, it costs a lot of money, but, if there is some way to have like a crosswalk where when it's flashing, it's 50 miles an hour, and there's a button that horse trailer or horse riders can push to cross.
Let's look at something like that. What do you mean, so? Let's look at it.
Yeah, no.
I
think
agree
we
with you,
need to-
sir.
I think we need to look at all of it. And I don't know who would bear the expense, probably us, but is that entrance at in the right spot to begin with? Because it's fairly up high to the hill versus, but you're talking about infrastructure changes in.
That's the DNR.
Which is, yeah, but still, I mean, the entrance is right there at where it is a danger versus down. That's a discussion for down the road.
Well,
I make a motion to table this until June.
okay, what about go back, just replace those signs?
We don't have an ordinance in place that says it's 35.
I think we need to.
We have an ordinance in place that's not signed correctly. To me, those two things have already either been acted or not been acted on. And we do what was done, or hasn't been done yet, until we do something different. Post the 15 as it was written in the ordinance.
Well, it's there. What do you want?
Change the 35s to 45, because even if somebody gets pulled over and gets a ticket issued, it's gonna get tossed anyways.
Exactly.
And we can touch base with Lynch, we can get LED signage, price quotes, and
Of the village.
I agree with that. I'll
To
second
make a
that.
motion
You made the motion.
to table. Do we have to have a motion to change in the 45?
No, because it's already the speed limit.
Alright,
Right, so that'll go back, I'll get the guy from the county to do it. Or I'll have to see what holds them on, maybe I won't waste our money on that, I'm just gonna drill and replace 4 signs.
Well, I
So,
fixed the one in Marion and Thayer, I know how to do it.
I heard you were down there doing your duties, whatever. Now, that's it on the speed part of this. We'll continue to work on it, make that right for everybody, safer, etc. Fair enough on that part?
All those in favor? Signify by saying aye.
Hi. You guys.
I know that.
Aye.
Okay, now, we're still talking about the road. Complaints of the trucks on the road. Truck traffic, semis. Okay, anybody wanna add any more to that? You've talked about some?
It's a problem, it's a big problem now. Like I said, with these blind intersections, Tower Road is one of them, for sure. If you try to take a right turn with a large vehicle with a trailer, there's no way you can't cross the other side of the road. And it's basically blind, someone coming down there. And
Okay, you brought
forty-five,
that up a couple times. I've talked to other people that have that concern about that driveway right there, or that road. Tower and Little Prairie.
yeah,
It's very, very dangerous. It's probably, off the top of my head, the most dangerous intersection maybe in the township. It could be. Now, what do we post up at the top? Flag a sign up there? Do we put some type of LED sign up there? Dangerous intersection ahead, use caution. Both ways to slow people down coming out right at that intersection?
I'm not sure.
What's your thoughts on that? You guys drive up and down that road all the time.
I don't go down that Tower Road very much because I don't. like
No,
to
but
go
you're
down.
driving up and down Little
I
Prairie
know.
by that.
Yeah,
What-
It's a pain
Well,
in
we
the
gotta do
butt.
something to warn the people that it's there.
yeah.
I mean, any place else you drive in the state on any other road, they'll have a hidden driveway or something like that quite a distance away. I mean, probably not even the state, probably in the US, a lot of roads are marked like that in the country.
So, Josh, what type of sign do you think we should put up there? With the wording we can get down, but should we put something that's really reflective? Can we use those lime green signs, they use the crosswalks, does that wake people up a little? No, you can't use that.
No, they're just gonna be your standard high vis yellow, not the green. Those are typically for pedestrian school zone. But, I mean, truck traffic all the way around is, you know, is an enforcement problem as much as it is a posting problem.
We
Class,
can't,
I mean, Class B is not gonna keep a semi off of Little Prairie Road. You know,
Chief, tell us how useful that Class D sign is really.
Not really. I mean, it's, some of them, I mean, part of your problem you're gonna run into is that you have a huge amount of ag that goes on too, which may or may not, depending on what they're doing, might be exempt from that weight limit too.
Yeah.
I mean, a lot of your traffic on Tamarack is largely coming out of a chicken facility down there, coming up this way. So I don't know, I mean, I guess I don't know what the volume of commercial traffic is coming across on Little Prairie, but overall, it's not a lot.
Well, I will tell you that the other day, I come into town and had to go down to FS, and happened to follow 3 semis.
Do you know where they're coming from?
I got behind them on Main Street, I don't know where,
Okay.
there's 3 of them, all different companies, happened to turn down that road, and they all went shooting right past it, oh, it must be going down by A1 or something. Straight south.
Yeah, cause Third Street is a truck route from Main Street to Bluff. That was changed as part of the railroad project back when they closed the Second Street crossing. But, you know, once you get somebody onto a road like that with a semi, they gotta go somewhere. Right, and even if they realize they shouldn't be there, they're not gonna stop and back up, like if they get on, you know, at Z and all once they realize they shouldn't, well, they're gonna keep going, and where are they gonna turn off? Their options are gonna be Tower, or go all the way to Main Street and finish where
They're
they're going.
gonna go straight through and say, hey, I better not use this road again.
But like when we designated all the village streets as, with weight limits, with the exception of what Main and so on, Josh was part of Public Works at that time, and it's a massive challenge to get some of that behavior to change. And without an enforcement arm, which you're not gonna have, I mean, let's look at the reality, nobody's gonna enforce weight limits on your town roads out there, because there's no, that you're just not gonna be able to change that behavior, because there's too many different people potentially doing it. And each one, it might be their first time. You know, that's what we were running into, is that, with some of the use of the village roads, was they were always different, there was always somebody different, we weren't getting the same ones as twice. But there also wasn't as much as what people's perception was either. You remember the semi coming past you because it's like, well, that shouldn't be here, right? But I don't know what your counts are in any particular day, if you got, I mean, do you have one semi cutting through that way a day, or do you have, 30? There's a big difference there. But that's the other part of this, is that what you're looking for in your ordinance is to change people's behavior, and a sign on its own won't necessarily do that unless there's things that can be done with the roadways and things like that that are gonna create that compliance a lot better than even the officers. But, the way the GPSs work too, they may very well just keep following it, because that's what it tells them to go. And I don't know how we fix that.
Speed limit. That's what we came up with, the whole thing. Was there any way we could stop them?
I mean, it
Slow them
ultimately,
down anyway.
if we wanna keep trucks off of specific town roads, they should be posted, no truck traffic, period. 100% period. And that doesn't mean somebody can't get an Amazon truck to their house. If the driver has a stop on the route, even though it's posted, no trucks, they're fine. If they're ag, they're implements of husbandry, they're fine. But the only way, you're not gonna get a Class B highway sign to change the behavior of someone driving a truck, because if they're empty, they can be there. It's still an annoyance on a residential, residential country road. And there's, again, it's gonna be posted and see if it changes anything. Unless we can coerce Jeffco to come down here and sit at the intersection of Tower and Little Prairie and start setting up truck traps. I mean, ultimately, it is.
Well, I happened to come out off of Bluff Howard to 59 today, and I see their new posting of their sign, all streets open to ATVs. And then right where their city limits end, just past where you go down the industrial park, no truck traffic allowed. They've got it right there. And they don't want them using Howard Road to 59. Now, that's Walworth County, but it stuck right out at me. I don't even know if that was there before, but they may have just posted that. I don't know, but it sure stuck out. And I thought about the conversation we're gonna have tonight, so. Any input out here?
Yes, this traffic study that we have no record of, I recall it quite well. One of the indicators on it was a lot of trucks with trailers, and I assume it was a really high percentage when we did the study, and I don't know what the percentage was, I don't remember that, but I was quite shocked. And I'm sure that has to do with a lot of the horsemen's park too, because everybody's all on the trailer pulling someone through there, and I'm sure it has to do with that, but it's a lot of trucks that they, according to the study that they showed there. And again, when the road was gonna be put in, we actually, I do have the petition here, by the way, if you want a copy of it.
But I would like.
Yeah.
Any of that now, but-
Yeah. And like I say, it's from 2020. But the big problem was when they took the grant for this road, our understanding was they would never be able to stop semis from going on there. And that was the big opposition. And that's why the push became down to 35, because we figured a lot of it was GPS traffic. A lot of the traffic on the road is GPS traffic, and by slowing the speed limit, eventually GPS would route some of these trucks down the county roads. So, that's why the speed limit got to be 35. Again, it's about the trucks, so.
I've got no recommendation this time. I'd like to see that study. I'm gonna table this, except for the Little Prairie, or excuse me, Tower Road signs, we gotta do something with that. For, you know, I know that road's there, we need to put something up on each side of that road. That's a definite. Alright, you guys, what do you think about that, Josh? Okay.
I agree. What?
Okay, I'll make a motion that we place 2 signs on either side, the appropriate signs. By Tyson Barnes, he'll know exactly where those signs should be placed, the county sign man. Just at least give me some type of warning. I'm gonna come up with some costs, we'll get them up within a couple months and get them made. I don't know how much what do you call the signs that light up? What do they call them? Well, the solar signs, but otherwise, something posted there, okay? To try and slow people down a little bit, or pay attention more or whatever for that intersection. And I guess we'll table the rest of this. Okay, on Little Prairie Road. Anything else on that one?
So if you have a motion, we would need to have a second, and then vote.
Second. All in favor?
Aye.
Weight restrictions, Tamarack Road, number 3. Same thing? Go ahead now.
Laura Kopinski, Tamarack Road. We will see semis come through during the day 3-4 times nonstop. And they're not going slow. They're going fairly fast. And you can hear them kicking in as soon as they get through the stop sign. And then they shut down when they get by Hingfors and Nelson's to the corner before they start going down the hill. So they have the Class B highway sign at the stop sign. It does nothing. For a while, SNR was asking their drivers to take different roads over to H, but then again, it stopped. So, it's not good. It's ruining the road. They fixed Tamarack. I don't remember how many years ago it was. And it's getting ruined. And I'm not the only resident on the
I
road.
understand, I did.
You got a letter, I know you got a letter, someone got a
Yeah.
letter from Irene Blaskowski, so,
I think she said,
yeah.
I think you made that too. That is a concern there, because SNR, to my knowledge, as far as their feed trucks, were always taking H out to Bluff over Tamarack and down.
They were supposed to be going over, and they weren't supposed to be coming down Tamarack.
Well, these are not all SNR trucks that you're seeing. You're seeing semis that you don't know who they are.
Correct.
Suzanne, what do you think?
About Tamarack? Wow, I like the idea of a no truck sign. I mean, if that's such a thing.
Well, it is such a thing.
I mean, it would make it clearer, I guess, right?
But wouldn't you have problems if they're coming off of 12?
Yeah,
They'd have no place to go.
In that case, you're on, well.
Oh, I suppose they
Go on
could.
the other road, right there.
Yeah.
I think that's Kirby when we get over
They,
H, wouldn't it?
they probably wouldn't do it a second time then if they were trying to get down the other than 18 wheeler, but, I mean, ultimately, doing it that way, or, like I said, a month and a half or 2 months ago, that working with the range on it, I mean, again, SNR is gonna be generally exempt from a no truck to their business.
Right,
You know,
you can't stop S&R from getting their supplies.
Correct.
How should I say this, Paulson's, say he's got 100 acres of corn there. Well, they're gonna be using 18-wheelers to haul that corn out of the field, that's all legal, it's implements of husbandry, okay? That doesn't mean the cement truck can't come in and, put a new driveway in at Sue's house there or something, they can do that. Or you're an owner operator, you can drive your truck home and so on and so forth. So he's not stopping any of that. Any thoughts on Tamarack?
No, I mean, to me, the only solution is no trucks, because the rest of it is just a waste of time. But at the same point in time, signs aren't exactly the cheapest thing in the world either. And if we're if we're talking about Tamarack, or if we're talking about Little Prairie, or whatever, I think there's a potential expectation of, okay, what are we looking at for the number of signs, the cost to install, that type of thing.
Okay, if you posted no truck traffic, whatever the legal thing is, by ordinance, gotta have our ordinance on there, those signs are not gonna be more than $80 or $100 a piece. So there's two in a post, unless you decide to put it on another post, it's already there, right at the edge. Okay, so there's a couple $100. The expensive signs that cost more will be over there on Little Prairie Road. I would be in favor of no truck traffic from Young to the village to Young, Tamarack Road, no trucks. I'll make that a motion, make sure we get the proper wording if anybody wants to back me up. I'm making a motion that we post Tamarack Road, no trucks, one end to the other, the village.
So we would have to come back with an ordinance for that. At the June meeting, when we have that ordinance been drafted, if we're gonna restrict truck traffic, we need an ordinance saying no trucks, and that ordinance would have to essentially come back, so.
True.
Not to step on your toes, but I think the potential motion would be is to draft the ordinance to bring back for adoption at the.
Okay, we did put in here discussion and possible action. We can do that, but I agree with you, Josh. I'll make a motion that we draft the ordinance for no trucks on Tamarack Road from one end to the other. To be looked at again at the next meeting.
I'm not opposed to it, my question is are we gonna be able to enforce it?
That's a whole
And if we
different
can't enforce it, does it worth spending the money to do it?
It's up to you people that live out there to call the police. No, I can call, or one of these fine gentlemen can call, but you live out there, I'm not seeing it.
Blaine Polson did speak with the sheriff's department. We have had, in the last month, deputies out there
Really?
coming through. They're not sitting, they're just driving through. So, whether that was from Blaine or for some other reason, I don't know.
But then again, if we don't put that up, then at least if we put it up in an ordinance, then they have something to enforce, right?
Correct.
So,
What is that, chief, failure to be the official sign, 34604, or what?
I don't even know. You could get, depending on what you set the weight limit, they could have a lot of fun with it if they have a scale.
Well, the weight limit makes, no, it would scare off the semis if you did like some jurisdictions, again, talking to Mr. Barnes, where Koshkonong, I think, is posted every road, 12 ton. Well, let's face it, a semi going down whatever road, it's more than 12 ton. You know?
But then how do you expect to get goods or anything delivered into the town?
Well, they
If
can,
you expect to so-called no truck traffic whatsoever.
the deliveries are fine,
then why have a no truck traffic sign up?
The
To
through.
deter
In
the-
my mind, it's a waste of money.
No, it's gonna deter the, trucks from going down there. What do you think? You drive truck every day. Yeah, don't you, with your big rigs?
Oh, we had a guy, a couple years ago, he got pulled over on a little trucking route. He was told to go around and take the right route to get there. He followed his GPS and cut across the road. He got pulled over, taken the scale, $7,000 fine. So at one time, he had half a load on his quad axle.